Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome to Intro to Shakespearean Playwright. I know you're all probably still in summer vacation mode, but we have a lot of material to cover this semester, so be sure to pay attention.
Summer vacation? Dude, it's October. Most people have been back in school for almost 2 months now.
If you guys thought Zani's kid was overly verbose and descriptive, this next character will have you believing you really are taking a Shakespearean playwriting class. We're now entering version 2.7 of Wuthering Waves, and if I'm to assume version 3 will begin at the start of next year just like version 2 did this year, that leaves roughly about 2 more versions to go, which lines up perfectly considering there's only Galbrena, Choyuan, and Chisa left. But that also means I have to wait another 6 weeks to be able to pull for Best Girl.
That's just like, your opinion, man.
I digress. Being a fusion gun wielder, Galbrena has some interesting shoes to fill. Question being though, will she be part of the mono fusion team or will she play into something else entirely? I'll be analyzing her gameplay and moveset to give you her best rotations and playstyle, along with my thoughts on her expected placement in the metagame before wrapping things up with a guide on how to build her, what parties you can play her with, and of course, if you should pull for her or not. A common criticism shared by a lot of players throughout the first half of version 2 is how overly specific units were, referencing how for example Zani had to be played in Spectro Frazzle for optimal results, necessitating you to pull Phoebe to complete the party, or how Cardathia was contingent on Chacona. Fortunately, the latter half of version 2 appears to be going in a slightly more party-agnostic direction, with Augusta and Diuno faring extremely well on their own despite heavily implying they want to be together. The fusion category in particular might be guilty of that the most. You can find small bits of potential versatility in each of them, but realistically Lupa, Changli, and Brandt only function at their best when playing alongside each other, making the team fairly specific. And with Galbrena being a fusion unit, it would actually be better for her in the player base if she didn't play into that engine and followed in the footsteps of Augusta and Diuno, doing her own thing. Does she achieve that? It's kinda complicated. Brace yourself, we're about to do a lot of explaining. As a side note, I feel like a lot of characters in Wuwa have a college dissertation for their ability descriptions that ultimately end up just being mostly descriptive text. Let's cut right to the chase and get to what she does. First and foremost, Galbrena is an echo skill based attacker in that the majority of her main attacks do echo skill damage, still a relatively underexplored mechanic only really delved into by Cantarella and Volova, but we'll see what the rest of her kit does. Galbrena's playstyle closely resembles that of Zani or Cardathia, where she has a base kit and an empower kit with its own set of attacks and abilities. The overall idea is to use her base kit to get to her empower kit, so keep that in mind. Beginning with her Forte circuit, as that will be the most convoluted part of her, by default Galbrena is in the threshold state, during which she builds up her 2 Forte gauges, Afterflame and Sinflame. She can ult up to 40 points of the former and 100 points of the latter. In Threshold, Galbrena gains 8 points of Afterflame when any party member casts an Echo skill, meaning to get full gauge you need to cast a minimum of 5 Echo skills. For Sinflame, you stock it up by using her base normal attacks, Resonant skill, and Intro skill, essentially the aforementioned base kit I was talking about. By the way, the later stages of her basic and heavy attack deal Echo skill damage. Her base normal attacks are all pretty straightforward, nothing too crazy to see here. Regarding her base skill, she dashes to the target enemy before jumping off of them to do heavy attack damage. Much like Carlotta's skill 2, Galbrena is able to gap close on a target from far away, making it pretty helpful against bosses who like to run around the map. Beyond that, nothing particularly noteworthy to point out in terms of her base skill. Now, even though there's an empowered skill, I actually want to skip to her ultimate for a moment and then come back to it because the Liberation plays into her empowered kit. Galbrena's Liberation has her blast the target enemy with a barrage of attacks, dealing Echo skill damage. For 14 seconds after, she gains extra damage multipliers added to her empowered abilities, hence why I wanted to mention it before getting into her empowered kit. I'll explain the skill order during the rotation section, but for now let's finally talk about her empowered kit. Upon reaching 100 Sinflame, Galbrena will gain access to her empowered skill, damaging enemies nearby and entering Demon Hypostasis. All Sinflame gets converted to Purging Flame, not unlike how Zani turns Frazzle stacks into Embers. Likewise, Purging Flame behaves as a gas tank for Galbrena's empowered state. Technically, Demon Hypostasis has a duration of 50 seconds, letting it last an extremely long time, far more than you need it to, but practically speaking you'll exhaust your Purging Flame before you run the clock on it. If you recall her other Forte Afterflame, the one that charges up when using Echo skills, Galbrena's empowered attacks gain bonus damage equal to 1.5 times the total Afterflame she has, so that would cap out at 60%. As I'm sure you're aware, you want to wait until after you get max Afterflame before getting into her one-wing form. Galbrena's empowered basic, heavy, and mid-air attacks as well as the skill will consume Purging Flame if they damage enemies, and just like with their normal basic and heavy attack, the later hits count as Echo skill damage. For all intents and purposes, Galbrena's playstyle is exactly the same in normal and demon form. Demon form simply deals more damage. Like, not to make fun of the devs or anything, but this entire alphabet soup of text contained in her Forte can effectively be described in a single sentence. Galbrena gains empowered attacks that consume Sin Flame and deal way more damage than their base variant. I mean, I get it, they want to be thorough and as detailed as possible, but I find it funny how 90% of the stuff that's in her Forte can be summed up as Galbrena does more damage. As an extra benefit, casting her intro skill, Basic Attack 4, or any variant of her resonant skill will give her 20% attack for 4 seconds, essentially a passive boost as damn near all of her attacks triggered this buff. I should probably clarify that even though I'm downplaying her Forte for being excessively wordy, when I say Galbrena does more damage while cosplaying as Sephiroth, I mean a lot, like a lot more damage, especially with the ultimate buff. Remember, it's a flat increase, not multiplicative. All of her basic attacks gain an extra 85% flat on them, all of her heavy attacks gain an 85% flat. If you play her properly, her damage output is complete horseshit, but it gets even better. Her inherent skill 1 applies a stacking debuff on targets when struck by any of her empowered attacks, amplifying Galbrena's damage against that target by 5% for 5.5 seconds, with the duration refreshing on subsequent stacks and the total amplification capping at 20%. Inherent skill 2 is not really all that meaningful, but it is a helpful quality of life improvement. Galbrena recovers stamina while attacking in demon form. Okay, so that leaves us with just her intro and outro skill. Although both of them are fairly simple, they just do damage. It should be noted that intro skill accounts for her demon form, implying Galbrena can maintain her demon form even when switching out. Although typically there's no benefit to switching out midway through your rotation. Galbrena isn't really a quick swapper. As you can see, a lot of words, but when you trim all the fat, Galbrena is an extremely simple character. You attack a bunch of times to build up Sin Flame, and then Echo Skill a bunch to build After Flame. Then you press your skill and ultimate, and then for 14 seconds you just normal attack a bunch again, and call it a day. Having said all that, here's the most optimal rotation my friends and I could find. Actually, there are two of them, the easy one where you don't have to think, and the more sweaty one that turns her from a busted DPS into a busted-er DPS. Starting with the easy one, intro skill in, echo skill immediately, then basic attack until you're at 100 Sin Flame, empowered skill then liberation right after. Then you just kinda spam left click until you run out of juice and then you outro out. You'll notice I didn't include her base skill. While it does accumulate Sin Flame, it's not by much, you can just basic attack to build it up instead. The sweatier rotation is sort of an extension of the easy one. Intro in, echo skill, go through your basic attack rotations until max Sin Flame, then empowered skill, liberation after, then you want to do a heavy attack rotation first before basic attacking until you run out of juice. You should have enough to do at least 2 rounds of basic attack 3, 4, and 5. In short, the sweatier rotation adds in the empowered heavy attacks, making it slightly more execution heavy.
Hey, editor actually popping in with a quick modification here. An apparent update to her Forte consumption has killed this big rotation, so the simple rotation is actually your best option now.
Galbrena really couldn't be a more straightforward character. If anything, she might be one of the easiest characters in the game to play. Apart from building up your Forte gauges, a thing you're expected to do on everyone, the rest is just shooting anything that moves. Literally. But all that style and flair means nothing if there's no damage behind it, right? So how strong is Galbrena really? Let's just say if you can play her well and with the help of a certain somebody down the road, Galbrena becomes one of the best boss killers in the game. She does dummy amounts of DPS for how simple she is. If you're having second thoughts about whether she's worth it from a meta point of view, don't. She is absolutely worth it, especially if you don't already have a strong boss killing team like Carlotta. I say boss killing, but Galbrena is just a good attacker in general. The only con I can find in her kit is her dependence on echo skill casts. You'll be able to get 3 stacks, 1 for each teammate, but the only way to get the last 2 is if her teammates carry supplemental echo skill casts in their kit. Not echo skill damage, but a cast. For instance, Verlova's Scarlet Coda counts as an echo cast. You might say, what about echoes that can be cast more than once like Nightmare Crownless? Negative, you only get 1 stack per unique echo skill source. I'd argue Galbrena is overpowered even if you can only get 36% damage, but do keep in mind that her After Flame represents a considerable portion of her damage given it's a unique type of DPS increase. Having said that, what's a good team for her? The best free-to-play team I can think of would be Galbrena, Mortifi, and Shorekeeper. Galbrena does mostly heavy attack damage in her kit, so Mortifi is basically a no-brainer, and I think that might be her best team right now overall, but if you're able to, you could also try to play Galbrena, Cantarella, and Verlova. It's a much more difficult team to play, but the heavy attack portion of Verlova's outro skill can work on Galbrena, in addition to getting her to max After Flame. Now, even though both teams are quite strong objectively, it doesn't take an expert to realize neither of them are a perfect match for her. Then who is? Let's just say you're gonna wanna wait a bit before her best teammate shows up. Again, you don't need that teammate to play Galbrena, you can get her started right now, but do keep an eye out. That said, there's nothing wrong with having a best-in-slot teammate. What is important is that you have options, and Galbrena does. Mortifi is a perfectly fine secondary for her. Kind of a shame we only have one of them, I feel like a lot of attackers want Mortifi secondary. On to her sequences. Galbrena is totally functional at base, but her sequences are definitely tempting. Number 1 gives her up to 80% bonus crit damage at 40 after flame to accompany the 60% increase in her base kit. Very strong buff to have, and she also gains super armor while in demon form. Number 2. Oh my god, number 2.
What? It's just an ordinary... Oh my goodness!
Okay, you remember that one part of her demon form that gives you 20% attack? S2 was like, you know what, we're gonna give you just a little bit more, just a teensy more, cause 20% attack, it's alright. I mean, no one would say no to a free 20% attack, but nowadays with the cost of living being so high and all, we think you deserve a little bit more. 20% becomes 370. 370 attack. So we just out here giving entire characters worth of attack buffs now, like bruh. Number 3, bonus multiplier on her liberation, a fairly substantial amount. Galbrena's liberation isn't the most important part of her kit, but an extra 130% is nothing to sneeze at. This woman's got some power in her sequences, that's for sure. Number 4, when anyone on the team uses an echo skill, the entire team gains 20% all attribute damage. Essentially, this will always be active. Not half bad for an S4, but as always if you're going past 3, you're probably going to 6. Number 5, 150% bonus multiplier to all variants of her skill. Galbrena's skill only really serves to activate her demon form, so it's not the biggest increase in my opinion. Number 6, 60% bonus multiplier given to her demon form attacks, and she gets up to 35% fusion damage amplification when accessing her demon form, 35% if you have 40 afterflame. In other words, it's just a massive increase to her demon form, as if her demon form increase wasn't already massive to begin with. I know I said Galbrena works totally fine at base, but personally that S2 looks way too juicy to give up. 350 is the highest attack increase in a single character by leaps and f***ing bounds. I've seen 80 or 120% attack before, but 350% attack, this has to be a mistake or something, there's just no way. Regardless though, we'll move on to her weapons. Guns have always been the black sheep of weapons in that there really aren't that many to go around, and the ones that do exist are hyper-specific to the characters in question. Her signature is of course the best weapon for her, bonus attack, heavy amp, echo skill damage amp, and armor penetration all on what might be the most visually satisfying gun of all time. I love the color scheme of Lux and Umbra, especially on the knife part. What other options are there though? Last Dance isn't really the best, as Galbrena doesn't do any skill damage at all. That leaves you with only Static Mist, the standard 5-star gun, which isn't the worst out there. It gives the same attack but crit rate instead of crit damage, and the extra energy helps out considering Galbrena's higher dependence on her ultimate. You can also go for Solar Flame though, it gives crit rate for the secondary stat, and you get bonus heavy attack damage as well, making it a great budget-friendly option for Galbrena. Now, despite how much I freaked out about S2, I still think you should prioritize getting her signature weapon over any amount of her sequences. Finally, Echoes. There's a new 3-piece Echo set coming out in 2.7 called Flamewing Shadow that someone unfortunately works only on Galbrena, but man does it work on her. Go for 3 Flamewing Shadow and 2 of either fusion set, and for your main Echo take the Korosaurus. Bonus Echo skill and fusion damage, and being a summon it's easy to throw out whenever. Main stats go crit on 4 cost, fusion damage on 3 cost, and attack on 1 cost. For substats, Galbrena is definitely reliant on her ultimate, so you want to get her energy up as best you can, although if you're using Static Mist, then you can afford to run a bit less. From then on, crit, attack, and heavy attack damage in that order, although if you have her at S2, swap attack with heavy attack, since you'll have way more attack than you'll know what to do with at that point. All in all, Galbrena is a phenomenal unit, mildly party stringent on account of her Echo skill cast requirement, but apart from that, she's incredibly strong, and especially with the right team, she can easily be one of the best attackers in the game. If you're one of those people who were looking forward to pulling for her, you'll be happy to know the juice is more than worth the squeeze, even for free-to-plays. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on Galbrena, if you plan to pull for her or not. But that's gonna be it for today, so if you enjoyed the video, a like and subscribe would be much appreciated. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter @FarsRM, join my Discord server, and check out my other Wuthering Waves content if you haven't yet. But till next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.
Witness blossoms in wind.
Speak of the devil.
Brings in the heart.